What are you encouraged by and discouraged by as you look to the next 10 years? I know that's kind of a broad question, but have at it.
I'm largely encouraged. You know, when there's a section in Outliers where I talk about this generation of Jewish men in New York City who grew up to become the leading lights of the legal industry, who took over the kind of legal profession in the 70s. And I talk about how much they all had in common. And one of the things they all had in common is that they grew up in the Depression. They were all born between 1932 and 1935. So they came of age at first of all, in poverty in the Bronx and Brooklyn, in the middle of the worst economic crisis this country's ever seen. And what happened? What came out of that? Well, what came out of that was these extraordinary careers. And I could not help but wonder when I was doing that and talking to all these incredible men about and they're all men in this case, about their backgrounds, whether that had something to do with it, whether you don't learn something important and valuable and useful from growing up in difficult circumstances. Now, not impossible circumstances. So they did not grow up in the slums of Calcutta. They didn't starve to death. They got an education. They had parents who cared for them. They had all kinds of things going for them, but they did not have material plenty, and they did not grow up in a time of certainty. They grew up by the time they were adolescents, there was a war going on in Europe, and their kind were being slaughtered by Adolf Hitler. I mean, so an extraordinary amount of uncertainty, but out of that came a kind of strength and resilience and creativity that created this extraordinary boom that lasted from the 40s through, last year. And so when I think of this time, I think, well, when I think back to what came out of the Depression, why would I be pessimistic about now? Maybe we have an opportunity in these hard times to learn those same lessons. Maybe we got in trouble because we were so kind of complacent and happy that we never had a chance to learn those kinds of difficult lessons. So I feel like the children growing up today, one way of looking at it is that they have an advantage. They have an opportunity to learn something that no generation since the generation that grew up in the 30s have a chance to learn, and that is self-reliance and perseverance and a certain amount of toughness. Right? What's wrong with that?